It felt right. Everything in you whispered yes. A strange calm, almost sacred, wrapped around that decision like a soft light. You prayed, you waited, you believed, and still the door closed. Not with anger, not with noise, just closed. It's a quiet kind of heartbreak, the kind that doesn't draw attention. No one sees it, because from the outside, it wasn't dramatic. You just moved forward with something you thought God was in, and then watched it fall apart. And now you're left asking, but wasn't there peace? Did I get it wrong? Wasn't that a holy kind of yes? Sometimes the confusion after a closed door hurts more than the door itself, because it makes you doubt your discernment. It makes you question whether you're even hearing God right. And if you're honest, it makes you feel a little foolish. But what if the peace you felt wasn't a mistake? What if it was permission to try, not confirmation to continue? What if the closing wasn't rejection, but redirection? There are doors that look right. There are feelings that seem holy. But some things are allowed into our path not to be pursued, only to be discerned. You're not alone in this ache, and you're not spiritually broken just because something didn't unfold. There's something deeper unfolding even now, and in the next few moments, we'll walk into the quiet truths behind closed doors, sacred no's, and the peace that still makes sense even after the door has shut. Let's go gently. There's more here for you than you realize. You've done your best to be faithful, to stay open, to listen. You didn't just chase every open door, you prayed through them. You waited for the right one, and when it came, you stepped forward with trust. But it didn't last. The peace faded, or the door shut before your hand could even reach the handle. And now you carry the quiet weight of wondering if you missed something, or worse, if you failed some hidden test. Let me tell you something sacred, something many never say out loud. Not every open door is from heaven, and not every closed one means you did something wrong. God is not only a God who opens doors, He is a God who filters them. He removes what could delay you. He redirects what could distract you. He closes what would have broken your spirit in ways you can't yet see. You see, discernment isn't just about recognizing the green light. It's also about trusting the red one. You're not less spiritual because something didn't work out. You're not less faithful because it made sense and still didn't move forward. This is part of the shaping, the maturing, the gentle refining. This is God fathering you. And maybe that door, the one you hoped would stay open, wasn't a mistake at all. Maybe it was a step in your training, a lesson in divine filtration. You don't need to keep replaying what didn't work. You're still in alignment. You're still seen, and there's still a greater unfolding ahead. If this speaks to something deep inside, stay with us. And if you haven't yet, subscribe to Calm Called, so when the next whisper of clarity comes, you won't miss it. You'll be ready to recognize it. You thought that clarity came first, that if something was from God, it would make sense in the beginning. But what if it only makes sense later? Sometimes it's only after the collapse, after the silence, the closing, the letting go, that you begin to see what was really happening, not with your eyes, but with your spirit. It's in the rubble of broken plans that heaven whispers, "Now you're ready to see." Because before clarity, there is humility, and before understanding, there is surrender, and often, before vision, there is loss. God isn't late in explaining things. He's precise in when He allows them to be revealed. Some truths can't be understood while you're still holding the pieces. You have to let go before your hands are free to receive. The collapse wasn't cruelty, it was clarity, in seed form. And you're not being punished, you're being prepared. Every closed door has something to show you, but only if you stay close long enough to see it. Not through bitterness, not through frantic searching, but through stillness, through trust, through slow healing. That's why this moment matters, because what feels like the end is often the threshold of vision. And in the next steps of this journey, we're going to sit with the deeper truths, the ones you couldn't see before, but now, maybe you're ready. Let's keep walking. No one teaches you how to grieve a door that never opened. No one tells you how sacred disappointment can be. But if you've ever walked away from something that felt holy and still had to release it, then you've stepped into one of heaven's quietest classrooms. Discernment isn't handed to us in the light. It's shaped in the dim corners, where we thought something would bloom, but it didn't. It's carved through ache, through questions, through the slow letting go of our own timing. When God teaches through disappointment, He's not condemning you, He's calibrating you. He's sharpening your spirit to recognize what looks divine but isn't, what feels familiar but drains your soul, what sounds right but misses His whisper. The pain you carry from that closed door isn't wasted. It's doing something in you. It's deepening your listening, slowing your reactions, making you pause, not just for peace, but for alignment. Disappointment rewires your urgency. It changes the questions you ask. You stop pleading for doors and start asking, is this even from you? Does this bring me closer to peace or performance? Am I being pulled or am I striving? And that shift, that's discernment growing, not flashy, not loud, just slow, sacred change, like a tree learning to root deeper after being cut. This is why God allows some things to fall apart gently. He knows your heart. He knows how deeply you want to get it right. And He's not cruel, He's careful. He'll let a door remain closed so your discernment can open. This is holy training ground, not punishment, not rejection, preparation. And if you stay close through it, you'll come out of this not only wiser, but softer, quieter, and infinitely more aligned with the voice that matters most. Some doors feel right because they echo something we already know. They don't lead to peace, they lead to patterns. And patterns can be more seductive than purpose. You might not even realize it at first, because the door feels warm, familiar, safe. It's not chaos. It's not resistance. It's just familiar. But familiar doesn't always mean faithful. Sometimes what feels right is just what you've known, and the soul confuses repetition with alignment. We find ourselves walking toward things that reflect our past wounds, not our future healing. The job that mirrors your last burnout, the relationship that triggers old insecurities, the opportunity that flatters your need to be seen, but leaves you spiritually starved. These doors don't look dangerous. They don't scream, wrong. They whisper, you already know how to live here. And that's the trap. You weren't called to repeat. You were called to be renewed. And that renewal often begins with resisting what feels easiest. Discernment here means pausing long enough to ask, does this stretch my spirit or soothe my ego? Does this call me higher or hold me still? Is this comfort or is this compromise? 1. 4. And friend, it takes courage to walk away from something that doesn't look wrong. But peace is not passive. It's active surrender. God won't let you settle into what's merely familiar if it keeps you from what's truly faithful. He'll agitate, he'll interrupt, he'll let the familiar turn uncomfortable, so you can finally see it for what it is. You weren't made to live in the echoes of yesterday. There's something new being spoken over your life, and you'll only hear it if you stop replaying what used to be safe. Let's walk further. There's a strange paradox in the way God leads. Often, the path He ordains doesn't look open. It looks narrow, uncomfortable, even a little wrong at first glance. We expect divine direction to feel smooth, intuitive, but the narrow way rarely begins with ease. It begins with resistance, with hesitation, with everything in you whispering, "Is this really it?" Because heaven's path is not always emotionally flattering. It doesn't always appeal to your logic. It doesn't stroke your confidence. It calls your spirit higher, and that often feels like friction at first. Remember the stories. Moses called back into Egypt, Ruth walking into an unfamiliar land, Mary carrying a promise no one could understand. The narrow way has never looked obvious, but it always carried weight. And here's the tension. There are wide, well-lit roads that feel peaceful but lead to stagnation. And there are narrow, quiet paths that challenge you but lead to breakthrough. It's not about the path's appearance. It's about its origin. Sometimes the wrong-feeling road is the right one, because it's not built for your comfort. It's built for your calling. And calling rarely comes dressed in clarity at the beginning. So how do you know? How do you discern when it doesn't feel right, but something in your soul won't let go? You slow down. You watch for peace, not preference. You lean into stillness, not applause. You ask, does this stretch my faith? Is this a step toward obedience or just validation? Would I still take it if no one ever saw me do it? The narrow way will never compete for your attention. It waits quietly until your spirit is ready to choose it. And if that's where you are standing before something that feels uncertain, uncomfortable, unfamiliar, don't rush past it. It may be holy ground in disguise, and your willingness to walk it anyway might be the most powerful yes of your life. Some doors were never divine, but we dressed them up to look like they were. We painted them with faith-colored words, framed them with hopeful prayers, hung verses over them and called them confirmation. But deep down, we were trying to convince ourselves. And the hardest part? We were sincere. This wasn't manipulation. It was longing, a deep desire to find God in something we already wanted. So we made it look divine. We softened the red flags. We edited the story. We squinted at the signs until they looked like direction, because we needed the door to mean something. But now, you're standing in front of that same door, and it no longer feels holy. It feels heavy, and you're wondering if you can admit the truth. You wanted it to be right so badly that you stopped asking if it really was. This is not shame. This is release. You can lay it down now, the version you made pretty, the story you dressed up. God doesn't need you to hold it together. He needs you to be free. Because sometimes the bravest faith is not walking through a door, but walking away from the one you painted gold, the one that gave you hope, but never gave you peace, the one that looked godly, but required you to hide parts of yourself just to stay near it. This is where healing begins. In truth, in letting go not just of the door, but of the version of you that felt you had to make it divine in the first place. You don't have to convince God to bless your plans. He's already writing something better. And the moment you release the painted door, your hands are finally free to receive the real one. Even now, He's not shaming you. He's smiling because you're seeing clearly, and clarity is the first miracle. What if the point was never the door, never the opportunity, never the outcome? What if the point was obedience, pure and simple? We live in a results-driven world. We're trained to measure worth by productivity, progress, success. So when we obey God and things don't work out, we start to question the value of our yes. But heaven doesn't grade obedience by the fruit we can see. Heaven honors the step, not the result. You said yes, and that mattered. You listened, and that moved something eternal. Even if it didn't work, even if no one saw, even if the door didn't open. There are some obediences that are seeds, planted in soil you won't revisit. They won't bloom where you can watch, but they count, they echo, they shift things in realms unseen. And sometimes, the very thing that feels like a failed outcome was actually a test of posture. Would you still trust me, even if it doesn't unfold the way you hoped? Would you still stay close, even when your yes leads to silence instead of celebration? This is the tension of spiritual maturity, learning to honor the voice, not the visible, to find joy in being faithful even when the door stays shut. You are not behind. You are not being punished. You are being formed, and that formation often happens when no one applauds, but heaven smiles. There is deep peace available when you release the need to see the reason and rest in the knowing that God saw your surrender, and that was enough. So keep walking, not for outcome, not for proof, but because obedience has already aligned you with something greater than you imagined. You've probably been taught to knock, to seek, to press in, and there's truth in that. But there's another kind of door in the kingdom, a door that doesn't need to be forced. It doesn't require panic. It doesn't ask for striving. It doesn't play hide and seek with your peace. It simply opens when it's time. This kind of door is divine alignment, not manufactured, not manipulated. It's the path that unfolds without the tug of war. No pushing, no proving, no fear that you'll miss it if you don't act fast. You see, the world teaches you to hustle your way into what's next, to make your own way, to build momentum or be forgotten. But heaven's rhythm is slower, wiser. It moves at the pace of trust. And here's the key. If you have to force it, defend it, or constantly rescue it, it's not your door. God's doors come with confirmation, not confusion. They bring clarity, not constant questions. Yes, there may be resistance, but never the kind that violates your peace to maintain it. Sometimes, the enemy of divine timing is our spiritual impatience. We try to force what God is still forming. We knock until our knuckles bruise, never realizing the door wasn't locked. It just wasn't meant to open to 10 yet. The right door doesn't need you to break it down. It waits, and when it swings open, sometimes softly, sometimes suddenly, you'll know, because there will be no panic in your spirit, only peace. This is your permission to release the forcing, to step back from spiritual performance, to trust that God knows how to open what's meant for you, and how to keep shut what was only meant to test your posture. Rest your hands. Still your heart. The door that's yours will never require you to betray your peace to walk through it. Sometimes, we spend so much time examining the path that we forget to check the posture. We look at the open door, its beauty, its potential, its logic, but overlook the position of our heart as we approach it. But here's the deeper truth. Peace is not always found in the shape of the opportunity. It's found in the posture of your surrender. You can be on the right path but walk it with striving. You can say yes to a God-given door but carry fear and pressure like a heavy backpack. And when that happens, even the best path begins to feel wrong. Because peace doesn't travel in outcomes, it travels in alignment. There's a posture that invites God's presence, not because you're perfect, but because you're open. Not because you know everything, but because you're willing. Not because you feel brave, but because you keep saying yes. The posture that says, I don't need to be in control to trust you. I don't need full clarity to keep walking. I don't need applause to believe this matters. Sometimes, when things feel off, it's not the path that's wrong. It's our posture that's misaligned. We've picked up fear again, or started carrying expectations that were never ours to hold, or let anxiety speak louder than assurance. The solution? Return. Return to stillness, to surrender, to the posture that says, even now, I trust you. When your posture is aligned, you can walk through uncertainty without panic. You can enter unknown doors without fear. Because peace becomes portable, you carry it with you. And that's the kind of peace that confirms the presence of God. Not because the path is smooth, but because your soul is still and your spirit is aligned. So maybe today isn't about finding the next path. Maybe it's about checking your posture and choosing again to walk slowly, humbly, and surrendered. That's where the real peace lives. There's something sacred about how you respond to a door, especially a closed one, because in that moment, the door stops being just a passage. It becomes a mirror. It reflects your posture, your beliefs about God, your fears about missing out, your secret hopes, and your hidden doubts. A closed door doesn't only test your circumstances, it reveals your heart. Do you spiral into striving? Do you grasp at control? Do you begin to question if you're worthy of open doors at all? Or do you exhale and choose to trust the silence? This is where discernment gets real. Not in the moments of clarity, but in the aftermath of confusion. When everything in you wants to fix it, find it, force it, but your soul whispers, wait. You've been learning, even if you didn't realize it. With every door that didn't open, you've been growing in sensitivity, not just to what looks spiritual, but to what actually aligns with God's peace. This is the sacred synthesis. It was never about finding the perfect door. It was always about becoming the kind of person who doesn't panic when one closes. The kind who trusts timing, who values alignment over applause, who recognizes that God's no is not a rejection, but a redirection towards something deeper, truer, more lasting. And now, maybe you can look at that closed door, not with shame, but with reverence. It revealed something in you, it refined something in you, and it prepared you for what is coming. Because heaven never wastes a moment, not even the ones that break your heart, especially not those. Let's breathe here, together, not to rush forward, but to rest in what's been revealed. You've walked through memories of closed doors, felt the ache of almosts, held the quiet disappointment of what you thought was yours, and still, you're here. Still listening, still open, still seeking what only God can reveal. So now, may this moment be more than a closing. May it be a blessing. A blessing over your eyes that they may see more clearly, not just what is presented, but what is aligned, not just what glitters, but what is grounded in peace. a blessing over your spirit that it may grow quieter, not silent from defeat, but still from trust, that your discernment would no longer be rushed by fear, but led by still waters. You don't need to fear another closed door, because now you know. It's not rejection. It's not failure. It's a sacred filter, a divine redirection. Even now, God is preparing doors that do not require your panic, only your posture. You won't need to decorate them or disguise your exhaustion to earn them. They will open with peace. They will unfold like grace, and you will walk through them with clarity and courage. Until then, may you stop striving. May you stop rehearsing what didn't work. May you feel the nearness of God, not just in your victories, but in your waiting, your wondering, your release. Even here, He is close. So as we close, if this message found you in a tender place, in between decisions, or recovering from the last almost, you don't have to walk this alone. Stay close with us at Calm Called, so when the next whisper of peace comes, it finds you ready to receive it. Subscribe now and let's walk this unfolding together, with clearer eyes, with a quieter spirit, with faith that doesn't force, but flows. Amen.